Your art films featuring your music have gained obviously an amazing amount of recognition for you, and were selected for the Circus Film Festival, which we've talked about. I know we've kind of covered this, but how does that overall intersection of visual art and music play that role in your creative process?
Yeah, visual art is a new thing for me. I was as a younger kid, like if I wasn't instantly good at something, I just didn't do it. So like I remember like, and I was also very like set in my ways, and I have this very distinct memory of like an art class in like first grade where somebody wanted me to rip paper to make a paper monkey, and I was like, I want scissors. And so I just kind of decided that visual art wasn't for me, like when I was very young. In any medium, like photography, directing, whatever it was, I was just like, oh, I don't want to do that. It's not where I'm at. But then the pandemic happened, and there's all this extra time, and you can't do the things you're normally doing. So, and I got, again, like worked with the Seattleian Health Board on directing their festival. So I kind of had to learn. And so I started streaming, and I streamed like when we thought the pandemic might last just a few months, I streamed 2 months straight, every week. Like a comedy show called Co-Video TV. It was silly and chaotic, but I learned a lot about filming and about like the way that an audience perceives things through camera angles and stuff like that, and all this kind of stuff. And I had to take like a crash course for myself through it, and worked with this amazing photographer, videographer named Michael B. Main in Seattle as well, and learned a lot with him. His photos are some of the photos that are up in the gallery show. But yeah, I think that like, yeah, again, it wasn't on purpose. I just kind of did it, and I really like it more than I thought I was going to. Because I'm also not like, I mean, I love movies and stuff like that, but I'm not I don't like watch a lot of plays. I don't go see a lot of plays and stuff like that. But like, I think the thing that I bring to it as an artist that I bring is I'm always searching for immersion, for people to be immersed in the moment. Like that is a very deep underlying thing that I do with all of my events, with my comedy. I want people to be in that moment, stuck in that moment. And so I think that like, if you watch the festival, you can see the evolution from the first year to the second year. The first year, we had access to this place called McCall Hall on the Seattle Center campus. Yeah, it's a big thing, and we had this full video crew, and so we shot like some stage performances on this empty stage. And my band played. I have a band called Ghost Horse. It's a reggae, militant decolonial reggae band, and we played a set there too. And it was fine. Like I like their set a lot, and I like all those performances. But then I wanted to push myself further, because I was like, I think that like, if you're sitting at home on your computer, on your TV, and it's the pandemic, you don't want to just watch people on a stage, because you're not there, you're not immersed. So I thought, like, well, maybe it'd be better to turn this into like a short film. Like, and so the next year, I actually went back to Alaska and filmed a lot of nature scenes by myself. Like I was just out hiking, and so I filmed all these scenes of waterfalls and mountains and things like that. And together we put, basically it's like a poetry visual album, dance and like nature kind of thing with all my music. Again, that's on the Seattle Indian Health Board's like website / like YouTube. You can find the second year of that. And, again, I'm the biggest critique of my own work, and I would say there's things that I would love to try it again, because I think I could even do better. But, what I really liked about that is I got that immersion that I always search for, where it's just like, if you will sit down and watch this for 45, 50 minutes, there's a narrative, and you're stuck in that moment. And like it has like that, it has an arc, it has like a I don't know, immersion. Immersion is the only word I can think of right now. But yeah, it's just it's something that is new to me, that medium of visual art, but it is something that I've realized is like super even beneficial in my dance parties. Because I'll use different like visual, like projectors and stuff like that to like create things where people again, are immersed in that space. Like we'll have like dancers doing like dancing things, or like really cool. My friend Rico Whirl from Trickster Company sent me this really amazing like graphic form line that is like with all these like changing colors and stuff on it. And I love finding new tools to use to then bring them back to my community and like make stuff and for them. And yeah, I don't know. I again, like I said, one day I think I'd really like to make a movie or a TV show kind of thing. I'm not really like I had. It's weird. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know if I should talk about this, but like prior to the pandemic, when my comedy was taken off, I got asked in my comedy writing, I got asked if I wanted to like maybe talk about doing a TV show, and at the time I was like, I don't know. But then I've since thought about it a lot, and you know, like I think I would like to do that, especially with like seeing how Res Dogs and Rutherford Falls, like these people really were able to do more than I thought they were going to be able to do within the context of like the Hollywood system, and show some defiance and show some like just like, hey, we're not going to explain this. And that was really like, again, like watching them create freely has inspired me to want to maybe take that up again, and do some weird. Again, apologies to the editors. I'm notoriously a potty mouth.
No problem at all. I think we've got time for a few more questions here.
Yeah, so I would love to touch base a little bit on your podcast, Every Native Episode, and your Patreon as well. Whichever ones, if you want to talk about both or either, and yeah, what topics or discussions do you find most compelling, and yeah, how do these platforms support your artistic endeavors?
Thanks. Yeah. Let's first talk about the Patreon. The Patreon is new. Well, there's a Patreon for every Native episode. Patreon.com/everynativeepisode. But it's been on pause for a while, and I'll talk about that in a second. But I just started a Patreon, just Howie Echo-Hawk, as like just an overall artist, because I do so many things, because like I run Indigenize Productions, and because I have so many other projects that I do, I have had a hard time like figuring out like the branding of it all, I guess, basically like which like is Indigenize Productions underneath Howie Echo-Hawk or the umbrella, or is like the other way around, or are they separate things? And I've kind of just realized that like if you want to, because people have asked me like, is there a way to support the things that you do? And so that's why I've created this Patreon, which I meant to announce at the Awk Rock, and I just kept forgetting, because the thing is I don't even like money. And I wish it didn't. I don't do art for money. I just have to have money to survive. And so I have a Patreon that I started for basically like if you want to support me as an artist, if you want to support the work that I do with Indigenize, if you want to support the Indigequeer thing, I'm gonna take Indigequeer on tour next year, which I hope I can talk a little bit about. But I have this Patreon that I don't really know what it's going to look like. I just want it to be about support, but I also like, you know, I make so much music. Like I cannot begin to tell you how many songs I make every year. It's well over 100. And cause it's a way, that's my journaling. That's how I express myself, is like, I make music, and sometimes they're full-fledged songs. Sometimes they're just like little ideas or whatever. And sometimes I'll be obsessed with one song for a long time. And I think, you know, and my music is in various places, but I have not like actually done a proper release yet. And you guys can be the first to know that what I decided, so I don't get pigeonholed later, is that I'm going to release 4 different albums all at once. A jazz album, a sad boy heartbreak music album, like some like funk R&B soul in between album, and then a dance music album. And I'm just going to release that all at once, because I just want to put a bunch of things out there. But I want the Patreon to be a way for people to get like little tastes of the process, because for me, that's the most important part, and the best part of art for me is like the process. I love the process of creating, and I love watching people's process. And I think that the finished product is kind of trivial to me. I don't care, because, you know, again, like when somebody finished like their powwow song or like, a traditional song 500 years ago, they didn't think, okay, well, that's finished and, and like, let's move. Like you keep singing these songs, you keep doing these things and they evolve and, and your process is more important of like, rather than like this finished product. So I'm hoping that I can show people like, different songs that I have and like pieces of things that I'm working on and do some live streams and talk to folks. And I will say I'm extremely prolific. I'm just not super consistent. So we got to make sure I want to have an audience that connects with me directly, that tells me what they want, because I'll give it to them. I love that. Or I'll say no. But you don't actually want that. You think you want that. But I want to have like a dialogue, because that's the thing that I miss. Again, like I think about if I just stayed in Alaska, I probably would have just probably been making art in the village, and for the people there. And like, it's a dialogue, and I don't need a gigantic audience. The audience I have is enough. And I want, but I do like want support, because being an artist is not easy. It's like you're broke 99% of the time, and it's super fun, but it's just like, man, it's a lot of work to be your own publicist and to be your own everything. It's a nightmare. And yeah, so that Patreon, which I'll have a link for. There's also a Patreon for every native episode, which I did 3 episodes of, and I have more in the bank, but just very like vulnerability is a big part of my art, and so I'm just going to be vulnerable. When that happened, it was a year ago, basically. I had to started pushing those episodes out, and then my brother passed away. And it was really difficult to go back to it. It felt really hard to put, and I have like this episode with Janice Meeting that's like incredible. And I just didn't release it. And I put that on pause, I think just to grieve. It felt too connected to the time, but I feel ready to bring it back out. It got some good notice, and basically the idea was it's every native episode, a podcast where 2 natives, me and somebody else who's involved in, who's either a comedian usually, or like a writer or Janice Meeting and actors and things like that, native, watch an old episode of native TV, like not native TV, but like watch the Star Trek native episode, or watch the Seinfeld native episode, or watch the Zach Morris racist native episode from whatever, that Saved by the Bell, and joke about it. We watch it, like critique it. But it's not like, again, it's like we don't go like into like a big like, this is racist because of this and blah 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 blah. We mostly like, half the time we end up talking about how we kind of secretly like it because it's funny. Like it's just really hilarious. And we I think one of my favorite moments in starting out the podcast was just like the little jokes we made, like, because there's all these little, the way that white people have been writing native people for so long is we're very mystical, stoic people. So like I made a little jingle that's just native magic, and it's a nice open chord. And those episodes are out. You can find them every native episode. You can go to the Patreon, but again, it's on pause. But I am going to start releasing episodes again and getting more people on it. My hope is to get every native person I can that does these things to be on it. And I hope that my hope too is that it doesn't just stay a podcast where we're like just talking about these things. Like I would love, because as we talk about them, we all go like, man, this is almost great if only we can make our own version of this, like, and so one day I would really love for every native episode to be like a jumping off platform for making really cool like pilots and stuff, because all these people have these great ideas about making Indians in space, and so that's the hope. But yeah, both of those Patrons are out there, and I hope to be able to get this new year focus a lot more on those.
Awesome. If we could close it out with, you mentioned that you wanted to touch on your tour coming up next year. If you want to talk about that, that'd be great.
Yeah. This is an exclusive. I'm still working on all of it, but I got to take Indigequeer. Indigequeer started in Seattle, the party, and it's been like really, I didn't know how meaningful it was going to be for me and for the people there to just have a space to dance and hang out and listen to good music. And as I was DJing, I realized we need more dance music. And so I started making some dance music. And yes, they're going to have to bleep this one, but we have a song called Don't Let Them Colonize That Pussy. We have a song, Come and Get Your Love. We have a song, which is I took a sample from the Come and Get Your Love, song and made a dance song out of that. And the Tanner Cross song remix, Move I'm Indigenous remix that I have. But doing the parties, like all this work that I've been doing, all this evolution I have had as an artist, and also like I think a convener of people of somebody who brings people together, has shown me that it's like needed elsewhere, that Indigequeer is needed elsewhere. And I got to take Indigequeer back to Alaska, back to Anchorage, where which was the big city, when I was growing up, and do it at this place called Capacito Bonito, which is owned by these queer Latinx folks. And there was like 70 some people there, a lot of queer natives. And I have developed sort of like a package by doing this, like by hosting and playing my own music and like engaging with the audience and creating a space for dance and joy and freedom. It creates community. And that is truly, I think, desperately what is needed for all of us, but especially like Native people and queer Native people, is we need spaces to get together that aren't just the ones that we feel like we're supposed to have, like powwows or whatever. We need more spaces than that, and we need them. And without fail, like, I mean, like, I've had lots of people tell me that it's a healing space, that it's a space where they feel really seen, both as performers and audience. And I just really want to take that on the road. Like, I want to take that, but I don't want to do it in a way that is like a tour that most bands do tours, where it's like, I'm going to go to a different city every night and blah, blah, blah. Because that's not what it's about. It's about community. So the Indigequeer tour, the idea that I'm working on is basically like we're going to go to Albuquerque, go to Santa Fe, go to these places. Like, I want to go to your city. I want to go to your community. If you're listening, I want to go to your community and work with like the nonprofits there that like support these kinds of events, to be there for like a couple weeks and meet with people and go to your events and like do comedy, put on a burlesque show, maybe put on like a variety show, open mic or something like that. And then have it all lead up to an Indigequeer party at some, a bar, a club, a bookstore, it doesn't matter. And bring myself as the host and the DJ / musician artist, but also like bring some of these other amazing artists that I've worked with, who are dancers and burlesque performers and hosts and things, and also be really, really being sure to find the Native people in those places I'm going to that perform or want to perform, and get them that chance. Because that was Indigenize's mission in the beginning, again, was like giving Native people a chance to perform, giving Native people a chance to do these things, because like we don't get those chances. And everybody, like, it's not even about being good, it's about being given that opportunity. And so like I want to bring Indigequeer, the Indigequeer experience and the Indigenize experience to these places to help bring opportunity as well. Like, hey, like, yeah, absolutely you can do drag, absolutely you can do burlesque, absolutely you can host, sure you can DJ, whatever it is, because that is like, again, in the context of a village, in the context of a small community, everybody gets to perform. Everybody gets that chance. If you want to do it, you get to do it. And so, yeah, I want to take my music and my party and all this stuff to everywhere I can, everywhere where there's Native people, Native queer people who want to hang out and have a good time. I want to go and build community with you guys, and hope that it's a jumping off point for those places to do their own things. Awesome. Because I don't own Indigequeer. Like, I didn't make that up. That's Indigequeer is anybody who identifies that way. And, yeah, and so I want it to be a jumping off point, and I'm really excited. I think that will start in January, and I want to, like, I can, very quickly, like, I'll say I want to go back to Alaska. I want to go to Vancouver, BC, Toronto, maybe. I'd love to go to New York and Jersey. I'd love to go to Albuquerque and Santa Fe and Oklahoma City and all these, LA, the Bay, Portland, anywhere where there's Denver, anywhere where there's the Native people that want to hang out and want to have a good time. And then also I'll just say too, like, I love my music. I'm in love with my music. Performing at Awk Rock to all these Native folks and playing dance music and singing and engaging with the crowd was such a blast. It was such a blast. I loved it so much. Beyond just the dancing aspect too, like, again, like, this will be the last thing I say, like, the other, like, I touched on a little bit, saying that, like, these are healing spaces, and finding freedom has also been about finding healing for me. And one of my songs I got to play at Awk Rock that I wasn't going to originally. I wrote this song after after choosing to live and having a really big struggle with suicide for most of my life. I wrote this song for myself. I went out to the Puget Sound here and watched the sunset one day, and I just recorded the sounds of the waves. And I went back home and I made this song for myself that was just like, it's good to be, it's a chant, because I love chants, and it's just like, it's good to be alive. I'm glad that you're here. And I told that story to this audience of Native folks and other people in Juneau, Alaska, Awk Rock, and it got really quiet, and people were like listening to the sound of these waves. As I said, like, I almost wasn't here, but I am here. And that's why my name is There's More, because there's always more, and I get to do this. I get to be here with you, and I'm happy to be here. It's good to be alive, and I'm glad that you're here. And they sang that with me, and like, I had people come up to me afterwards, just really emotional, really crying, because they've gone through similar things. They've gone through things where they thought that maybe they wouldn't be here, but they get to be here now. And have it help me if I become the stereotypical Native American uplifting public speaker. But there is more. There is just so much more, and it's hard to see it sometimes. And music is not going to save the world, art is not going to save the world, but people will. And I love being able to share my journey and see it connect with other people. And that is like a huge part of why I want to bring this tour out there, is because I know that it is needed, because I need it, and if I need it, I know there's other people out there that need it. And I would love your people's support, because it's going to take work, because I'm doing it in a way that's different. Because the ways that the Western society has told us you have to do this, it's just not going to work. It's not what it doesn't speak to. I could create this very commercial machine of Indigenize Productions and Indigequeer parties and just go on a tour, but that's not why I did it to begin with. And I want to be able to create community. I want to be able to create spaces where we find freedom together. And I also want to just have a good time. And so, I hope that you guys will support me on I don't need a ton of money. If I can get some people on the Patreon, if I can get people who support these things and help me connect to those places, you can message Indigenize Productions. You can email indigenizeproductions at gmail.com. You can, message me on Instagram, Howie Echo-Hawk, Indigenize Productions. There's More, the Indigequeer, Ghost Horse Band. I have so many Instagrams. It's crazy. There's a lot of them. Don't worry too about them. You just hit me up on one of them. And if you have connections to places or people that want to see this out there, then hit me up, because I want to go. And again, thank you guys so much for having me on to be able to say this, because, as I've been trying to figure out how to talk about it, I was like, I want to talk to Native people specifically about this. Like, I don't just want to tell just anybody. And so, thanks for indigenizing the airwaves and giving me this opportunity. I appreciate you guys.
Absolutely. It was an amazing interview, and we look forward to seeing the finished product and staying in contact too, for sure.
Yeah, please. I really appreciate you reaching out again. One day, I think when you reached out, I think you asked me if I wanted to host a show or do a comedy program, and I do want to do that. Just at the time, I was way too busy. But I really, one day, it's one of those things that sticks in my brain, and I'm like, I do want to do something. So it'll happen. We'll talk.
Yeah, hit me up. Let's talk about it.
And thanks so much, Noelani, for reaching out. I'm looking forward to seeing you. You're going to come, you think, on the 30th?
Yes.
Great.
Yeah. I look forward to seeing you. Thank you so much. Mahalo. It was wonderful.